Hi, this is Stan. Welcome to Emerge Different, the focus on marketing and pricing. This is the fifth section of the God-Centered Business, a foundational framework to grow with resilience. This is the time to make people aware of your product or service, but especially your expertise. So today we're going to focus in on not only your expertise, but the style in which you deliver your expertise. Will you collaborate with people? Will you use content marketing? Let's discuss this and let's see where you can go with marketing. When I was told no, I couldn't go to the party, I thought of a great solution to that. I said, well, everybody else is going. And the retort to that statement was, well, you're not everybody else. Have you ever used the excuse of everybody else is doing this when it comes to lying or stretching the truth? Have you ever thought that God called you out of acting like everybody else and he wants you to use your special gifts and talents specifically for him? As you start going into marketing, God wants you to be able to tell the truth and to be the expert in your field. Why don't you take a moment to discuss your expertise with your group? Some people mistake kindness for weakness, and that could not be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, anyone who uses any part of the fruit of the Spirit is really doing a great job. When you look at the fruit of the Spirit, it looks like really flimsy items. I mean, love and kindness and gentleness really sounds like you're going to be pushed over. But it takes those things to make a servant leader strong. The servant leader chooses to do these things when somebody is trying to make them mad, or when they are trying to make them sad, or when the situation seems to be very tense. The servant leader takes a look at the situation and understands what's going on and looks at things through God's eyes. Why don't you take a moment to take a look at the fruit of the Spirit and see how you can add this to your servant leaderhood. When the project assignments were handed out, I was a little bit apprehensive. I was so used to working by myself, I didn't know if somebody could join me and make things better, or would they slow things down? Have you ever wanted to work with someone and didn't necessarily know how to approach them? Have you ever thought about approaching another business so that you all could pray together and pray for one another? Well, collaboration marketing is one where you are working together with another business that is like-minded to yours. Why don't you take some time to discuss collaboration marketing with your group and also look for opportunities to have God in the middle of your prayer, because where two or more are gathered, there he is in the midst. Watching one of those competition type shows, I actually learned how to make ribs a little bit better. It was a barbecue contest type show, and they showed all kinds of techniques and things that you're supposed to do to make your food delicious. And so I wanted to try some of the things that they did, and it actually worked. The content was pretty good. Content marketing is something that is huge today, and people have a desire to learn something new, and they want to learn it from you. Do you have a product or service that people need to understand a little bit more? Will you consider using content marketing to bring your audience to you? Content marketing is used to capture your audience a little bit better and explain who you are as the expert. Why don't you take some time to think about different ways you can use content marketing and discuss this with your group. Let's dive into content marketing a little bit more. A lot of people have websites, but they may have had a web developer who built it and they don't necessarily know how to update it themselves. One thing that people do now is they develop their own content through videos, or they go live on Facebook, or they do some other things to build this content so that people can see they are the expert. I do recommend using video or images for your business. Posting things on Instagram and posting on Facebook and posting on other social media outlets really helps the individuals who are your customers understand who you are. Just make sure that you have a journey for them. The random posts and random videos and buy my stuff can get a little bit noisy, but from a God-centered perspective, what you want to do is be able to help the people understand you are the expert, and also help the people understand from a how-to perspective how to do some things themselves, and how you will help them out in their business. So as you dive deeper, consider doing video, consider using a lot of images. And I know that some of you writers, I would cut back on some of the writing, but if you need something that has a deeper explanation, then go ahead and write that blog and write down some of the things for your website, and that content will be valuable as well. Why don't you discuss this with your group? Don't forget, or please remember, which do you say? I know that both of them say the same thing, but one has a positive spin and one has a negative spin. What's in your heart? Do you have a positive way of presenting things, or do you have a negative way of presenting things? What's the heart behind your business? What's the heart behind your marketing? Well, God has a way that He presents things from a positive perspective. He loves you and He loves you dearly. He can only see the good inside of you when He placed His Holy Spirit inside of you. Why don't you take some time to think about how you're marketing? Are you using a positive spin? Are you using the heart of God behind your marketing? Why don't you take some time to discuss this with your group? When I was trying to get to a destination, I asked a couple of people how to get there. One person said go through the city. Another person said go around the city. The person who said go through the city said you're going to run into a lot of traffic and you're going to sit quite a bit, but it's the most direct route. The other person said when you go around the city, you don't have to worry about the traffic, but you are going a little bit out of your way, so you're going to have to think about the gas. Thinking about pricing strategies is similar. I mean, there's 4 different pricing strategies that you can choose from. One is penetration pricing, one is economy, one is median, and one is premium. All of those pricing models have their benefits. It just depends on what you want to do with your business. Penetration pricing is lower than all competitors. Economy pricing is very basic, but it's a low-cost approach. Median pricing is not the average, but the middle between some competitors. And premium pricing is usually priced higher than most competitors because you're using quality material. Look at which kind of pricing strategy do you want to use for your particular business, and how long will you use that particular pricing strategy? Why will you use that pricing strategy? Take time to discuss pricing with your group and look at other prices that you have to see how you can make some adjustments. Determining the price is a little bit tricky. I mean, you have to cover your expenses, so obviously you can pass that on to your customer. However, if you pass them on at too high of a rate, in other words, if you pass too many expenses on to your customer, then your price may end up being too high and the customer won't buy your product. On the other hand, if you don't cover your expenses, then you will be going out of business soon. One thing that you should know is that you are worth your wages. And that's very important because some people want to give their product or service away for free. And that may be a ministry that God has called you into, in which that's a different kind of model. But if you are in business to make profits, then you should price your product accordingly. Why don't you discuss all the different expenses that you have with your group, and then determine how you want to cover those expenses over time. Now let's calculate the price. This is an art, I have to tell you that. You have to take a look at your pricing strategy and whether you're going to use penetration pricing, economy, median, or premium. You have to look at your operating expenses and your one-time investment costs, and if you have any kind of thing that you wasted or broke during the process. You have to also understand what the market can bear. I mean, if you had to spend a lot of money building your product or service and people aren't willing to pay the amount that it takes to recoup your expenses, then you may have to take a little bit of a loss or have a lower price over a longer period of time. I would also look into forecasting how many items you plan on selling within a given period of time. Once again, this came from testing out your product or service. So if you know what people would like and you know what they want and you go back to your test results, then you can forecast how many of these you plan on selling within a given period of time. Be really realistic with this because this calculation will help you with your pricing. You can also calculate the percentage markup that you will have. Some people start off with 5%, then they go with 10%, and then 20%, just to see how things shake out with your price. And then you want to determine how long it will take for you to use this particular price. Are you going to use it for a short period of time, like as in penetration pricing, or are you going to use this for the long haul in the economy pricing? Do you do premium pricing for a very short period of time so that you can recoup the amount of the investment, or do you do a mix? So you have to check that out for a while. There are two other pricing strategies that I do want to discuss before we get off of setting the price, and that is keystone pricing, where this is the retail market in which people who get things from a wholesaler mark them up 100% and then they sell it at a retail price. And so the keystone pricing structure is used in the retail industry and is accepted. The last one that I want to discuss is hourly pricing, in which you look at your industry standard and you adjust for the location, and you also adjust for the volume that you have. And so some people who are consultants charge by the hour. I know doctors do that, lawyers do that as well, but also there are some people who do jobs based upon painting and some other jobs, construction, that they calculate the hourly rate. I know automotive does that as well. So take a look at these different pricing strategies and see what you can do to determine a fair price. Now that you set your price, let's validate that price. There's two ways to do that. You're going to talk to your customer and you're going to look at your competitor. By talking to your customer, you're going to get a lot of feedback. You're going to hear business issues. You're going to hear their desires. You're also going to see what they have paid for the product or service in the past. And this will help you set your price, because at least you'll understand from the customer's perspective what they are willing to pay for. When you start looking at your competitors, however, I would use this approach with caution, because you don't necessarily know who their suppliers are. You don't necessarily know what their expenses are. You don't necessarily know if they've been granted a large sum of money and they are able to keep their prices extremely low for a period of time. But you can take a look to see if people will be willing to buy from you if you are in close proximity to that particular competitor. So take a look at your pricing through your customer's eyes, and take a look at your pricing through your competitor's eyes, just to make sure that you are in alignment. Why don't you discuss this with your group? Now let's get organized with the content. The information that God gave you, your purpose, that can be placed on your website somewhere. Definitely is in your heart, and so you'll be sharing that. But on your website somewhere, make recognition of your relationship with God. Also, your website should contain the full content that shows that you are the expert, and that your product has quality, and so that people can understand not only you, but your product or service. The business hours needs to be on Google and on your website. Some abbreviated content needs to go on social media. You know that people on social media either look at pictures, video, or they skim read. Progressive stories need to go in a blog, so that if people are following you and they want to see progress, they can follow that on a blog. Demonstrations need to go in a video somewhere. Your sales and profits, that's in accounting books. Use ads whenever you can. Those are paid ads for awareness. If you're going to be praying for your customers, use a CRM and keep track of when you're going to be praying for them. The test results, that needs to go in some kind of project management tool or a spreadsheet. Any kind of notifications, use an email for those. And for some kind of engaging content that's going to be voice only, you can do a podcast. If you use these structures, then you can build a content map that will help you stay organized with all of your content marketing. Why don't you discuss this with your group? Get replenished. I know this is one thing that needed to be said, and it's a shame that it needs to be said, because quite honestly, I've worked pretty hard, and sometimes I get to the point where I don't want to stop working. But it's better to intentionally stop working every single day and get into the habit of carving out time for yourself. If you can have quiet time with the Lord, have specific scheduled hours for working, have a specific time in which you intentionally shut down, and then have some time where you can renew yourself and get plenty of rest. This will do better than pushing forward and trying to push through getting all the pieces, parts of your business right. The more you rest, the better you are in terms of thinking, and the more creative you can be. And so get plenty of rest and spend time with the Lord. Why don't you discuss this with your group?